Hello, Canada or the United States. Now, the CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers are approaching very soon. And right now it's looking very interesting with all of the top 4 teams looking very neck and neck on points. Canada had a terrific run right now. They sit at first with no losses, 4 wins and 4 draws. United States is 1 point behind them. Instead of having 4 draws, they have 3 with 1 loss. And Mexico and Panama sit at 3rd and 4th with 14 points. First of all, props to Canada. This is a remarkable story they're telling right now. It's still possible for them to lose that first place spot, but the fact that they have it now, very, very impressive. Now, each of the teams in the CONCACAF still have to play 6 matches, but in this international break alone, they got to play 3 in the span of 6 days. On the 27th of January, the United States take on El Salvador, while Canada takes on Honduras. Both El Salvador and Honduras are in 7th and 8th place, but upsets can easily happen. Then, if all goes well for both of these teams, they battle it out for first place on January 30th, where the USA travel all the way to Canada to face them. And then on February 2nd, the USA take on Honduras, while Canada take on El Salvador. Now, there's still a lot of matches to be played, so anything's possible. But right now, the United States and Canada are looking like they're en route to qualifying for Qatar this year. I'm very excited to see that Canada versus USA match though in particular, as it can definitely affect the morale for either of these teams later down the road during these World Cup qualifiers. Canada on such a hot streak right now, but one of their best players, Alfonso Davies, he's currently recovering from some heart-related issue, so we probably won't be seeing him play in this match, unfortunately. That doesn't mean it's the end of the world for them though. The rest of the squad looking very impressive this year. Not to mention the match is being played in Canada. I even tried buying tickets for this match and I couldn't. Tickets were sold out before it was even available to general admission, which means it's probably going to be almost all Canadian fans. And the United States, man, there's a lot of talk about this squad. There's a lot of pros to look at, lots of exciting talent emerging from there, as I've stated in previous videos, but also the management isn't currently at its peak. In this video, I'm going to be joined with Tactical Manager TV. He has a channel which mostly covers the US men's national team. We're going to be obviously talking about this matchup, the future of the United States for the rest of the qualifier run, and I'll also be giving you guys a combined starting 11 for both of these sides. Make sure you go subscribe to him, leave another like, let's get into it. Filippo, thank you for coming in today. Now obviously you're a massive US national team fan, but before we dive into them, what do you think is the main reason why Canada has been having such a successful qualification campaign so far?
Yeah, there's actually a couple reasons to that. If you look into the Canadian roster for starters, it's really not as weak as it once was, right? Canada's a lot stronger than they ever were. They have the best player in CONCACAF, Alfonso Davies. That's something that's almost unanimous. No one disagrees with that. They have a striker like Jonathan David, good midfield like with Estakio, some MLS guys, and then you got Buchanan, Kyle Lehren. But I think the key to their success, because I don't personally think they're better on paper than the US and Mexico, it has to do with John Herdman. That's their manager, right? They're very well managed, and it seems like he's been able to get the best out of each player so far. There's a couple things we're going to talk about in this camp that could go wrong for Canada, or they're going to be tested in a different way. But I'd say not just the quality of players they have. The main reason, if I had to tell you one, I think John Herdman has been fantastic for them.
And going on to the Canada players, apart from Alfonso Davies and Jonathan David, those are the ones that are talked about the most, obviously. Which 3 Canadian players stick out to you the most, apart from them? And would they make it into the current US squad?
Those 2, obviously, they would not only make it to the US squad, they would be lock-in starters, Alfonso Davies. And I think Alfonso Davies and Jonathan David have a case for many top squads in the world. Alfonso Davies, I think he would start for many of like World Cup contending teams, to be honest. Like Brazil,
absolutely.
He would be a lock and start for Brazil, for example, from the top of my head. And Jonathan David has space in many teams as well. Now, 3 players that stand out besides them. One of them is Kyle Lehren, that played for Orlando City back in the day, and now he plays for Besiktas in Turkey. He's not this superb center forward. He's a high quality center forward that can get you goals, right? Very physical. You give him opportunities, clinical sometimes in the finish. I do joke that sometimes he's a tap-in merchant, but he a lot of the times is in the right place and the right time. Another player that caught my attention quite often, and Canadians get mad at me because they think I'm making fun of him, because I also say that he's the most overrated player by their fan base. But there's a difference between saying someone is overrated and someone is bad. He's a great player. I just think they think too much of him, and that is Estakio. He plays for Passos Ferreira in Portugal, but he's linked to head to Porto by the summer. So you can see the quality of the player there. I personally think John Herdman's system has been getting the best out of Estakio, so he looks a little bit better here in CONCACAF. But he's a player to watch out for and has been standing out for Canada, and maybe he'll be in Porto, and then people will know more about him very soon. The last player I want to talk about is a player that I think many people in Europe are going to hear about very soon. His name is Tajon Buchanan. He just signed with Club Brugge in Belgium, and this is a high-quality player. The first time I actually noticed him was he was playing for New England against Orlando City in the playoffs, and despite being a winger, they put him as a right back, and in that game, he was one of their best offensive players playing on the right back position, and he locked down Nani at the same game. And I know Nani is not a world-class winger, and he's old, but he's pretty good for MLS, and Tajon got my attention there. Then Olympic qualifying for Canada, he was fantastic, and now he's in Club Brugge, and I think in the next 2 or 3 seasons, Buchanan's a player you're probably going to see in the top 5 league. How good he'll be, I don't know, man. I can't tell, but he'll probably be in the top 5 league, and people will hear of Tajon Buchanan.
All right, so enough about Canada. Let's move on to the U.S. I've been seeing a lot of fans complaining about the manager, Greg Berhalter. What are your thoughts on him right now?
All right, I'm not going to go into the past too much, but the problem with Greg starts with when he was hired, right? The way the process was. I'm not going to get into details with that. I don't want to get your channel in trouble. The hiring process with his brother in the federation, then his brother leaving the federation after some criticism of nepotism. But regardless, it starts there, right? So anything Greg does wrong, we will obviously pick on it more. Sometimes rightfully so, sometimes even unfair. But a couple issues I have with Greg is, one right away is he has his favorites. So you have all these Americans now playing in top 5 leagues, competing with the best players, and some of them even performing in an amazing manner, like we're seeing Weston McKennie for Juventus recently. Despite that, you still see Greg picking and playing some of these MLS veterans that they're okay to good MLS players. And yes, MLS has improved a lot, but even as an American, I am well aware MLS has a long way to go to reach a Bundesliga, Premier League, if it ever does reach it, right? That's another thing. Now, I'm okay with you bringing young MLS prospects that are heading to Europe, like we saw Ricardo Pepi just go to Augsburg for 20 million, but he's been bringing these veterans. They've clearly are levels below a lot of the European guys, and he keeps playing them. Second thing is, instead of Greg trying to play players in their natural positions, the roles they play in their club, it seems like he's trying to force this system, this 4-3-3 that he wants to implement, and just that and just that. And he'll force the player there and persistently play the player out of position, regardless of the outcome of that. And last but not least, his in-game management, right? There's some games he gets it right, but I mean, professional coaches will get it right from time to time. Most of the time he gets it wrong. And even the game we played against Canada, Canada tied us at Nashville. We were playing like crap, and Greg didn't really make a sub or change till I think the 83rd, 82nd, 81st. It was in the last 10 minutes. That comes to show to me that he just, if you're not playing well and you're almost losing at home and your coach doesn't change the last 10 minutes, it kind of just comes to show that he didn't really know what to do at that point. This is just one example. There's been more examples of Greg's in-game management that was very iffy. Regardless, we still won 2 trophies in 2021. They weren't pretty the way we played a lot of the times, but we won them. So it's hard to question him in regards to that. But the performances in the field have been very disappointing, and a lot of it has to do with him.
It's interesting because the U.S. aren't even doing badly when you look at their records. Like you said, they won 2 trophies last year. But you got to question, can they be even better? Because Canada's record is amazing right now with no losses. But what are your predictions on this match coming up? And do you think the U.S. can top Canada by the end of the qualifiers?
By the end of the qualifiers, I would expect to. So in CONCACAF, the main thing people love to talk about is how the away games are very tough because fields ain't good, the crowd is hostile. It's a little bit different than maybe UEFA, right, where the quality overall is better of everything. But in CONCACAF, the away games are a little tricky, and we all have 6 games left. Canada has 4 games away and 2 at home. And one of the ones at home is the United States, which they could lose or tie. And the 4 away games, if I'm not mistaken, they're all in Central America, which are very tough environments to play. And Canada hasn't played there very much. So we'll see how they do. So I do think the U.S. could finish ahead of Canada. Maybe, honestly, Mexico can also finish ahead of Canada. I do, however, expect Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. to be in the next World Cup, with that said. Now, you're asking my prediction for this game specifically?
Yeah.
It's tough to say. At the time that we're recording this, there's no roster for Canada, no roster for the U.S. We do know Alfonso Davies is out,
Yeah.
We don't know for how long, but he had the heart issue, and he should be back eventually, but he's not going to be in this game. We do know Canada had their camp canceled, the January one, where their MLS guys would come in to keep in shape because MLS is in off season, while the United States is having the MLS guys in camp right now, so they're training. So it's hard to tell right now. We need to see the rosters, how they're going to look. Also, Giovanni Reina won't be there for the United States, most likely. That's a big loss for the U.S. as always. So it's not going to be a prediction. Let's just guess. The U.S. tops Canada away 2-1.
Ooh.
You got to give us yours too, because I don't know if many of the viewers of the channel know, but you're American.
I think it's going to be a disappointing match for both teams, and it will finish in a 1-1 draw, just like the first game. I definitely feel like there will be a few opportunities where the U.S. could capitalize on, especially towards the end, and possibly look like the better team, but will fail for the most part at the end. But I still feel like there's a good chance the USA can top them by the end of the qualifiers. But assuming both of these teams qualify for Qatar, which I think they will, which of the two teams will have the better World Cup run in your opinion?
So obviously, people are aware of this. It depends on the group, right? One can get more lucky than the other, but I would say the US has a higher chance of going further, not based on performances. It's just that Canada is very poorly ranked in the FIFA rankings. The U.S. is better ranked, so that means the U.S. has higher odds of getting an easier group because the U.S. would be probably ranked number 2 in the group. So that would take away those tier 2 European teams that are stronger than the U.S. and stronger than Canada, while Canada will be tier 3 or 4, pot 3 or 4, which means they're probably going to have to deal with a powerhouse, a tier 2 European team, and then possibly a South American or an African nation that have been very strong. So for that reason, I think the US's odds are higher of going through a group stage. I also think the US does have more quality on paper, even though when it comes to the field, things are different and Canada has been playing better than us. But for that reason, right now, based on no information, because none have qualified and we don't know the groups, the US has a little bit of a higher chance of going past the group stage, and from there it depends on who you face.
I honestly think the US may even struggle in their group, but it all depends on who they're paired up against. I wouldn't complain if I'm wrong though. Alright, so special thanks to Tactical Manager TV for giving us some more insight on this matchup. As stated, his specialty is the US men's national team along with the rest of the CONCACAF nations. So go check him out, leaving a link in the description to his channel below. But as always in these comparison videos, we gotta do a combined starting 11 of the two teams. Now there's obviously a lot to factor here. I think this is a very difficult lineup to complete. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below on what I missed. But let's get into it. Starting off with the goalkeeper, already a controversial pick, as Zach Steffen from the USA is obviously highly regarded, playing for a top club like Manchester City, but at the same time we haven't been seeing much of him this year. Meanwhile, Milan Borjan is doing very well for Crvena Zvezda and Canada. He's truly been terrific in 2021 and very excited to see what he can do in 2022. Zach Steffen, I definitely think this keeper has potential to become better than Borjan is right now. But as of now, at the time I'm recording this, I gotta take the Canadian keeper. He's just been too solid lately to not include him in this list. Crvena Zvezda is not in FIFA, as most of you probably know, so hopefully this edit I just made doesn't look terrible. Next up, moving on to the center backs. Now, obviously, Canada still haven't lost a match yet, so it's kind of criminal to not give their defense some credit. But I think individually, the Americans stand out in the center back roles. I'm gonna throw them out both at the same time. We've got John Brooks and Chris Richards. Now, these guys aren't guaranteed starters every single time. Is that because of Greg's poor decision making? I don't know. But as individuals, I think they might stick out compared to the Canadian defense. Let me know if you disagree with that statement. But let's move on to the left back. Obviously, he won't be available for the Canada vs. USA match, which is coming up. But I've gone for the one and only Alfonso Davies. Such a shame we won't be seeing him play this international break. But what a player this guy is, and what a joy it is to see him play in the top flights of Europe. He's obviously done so much for Bayern Munich. On the Canadian national team, he doesn't even play left back all that much. I'm aware of that, but for this video, I'm just going to stick him in that left back role because with the rest of the lineup, we could use him there. Now, for the right back position, I have gone for Serginho Dest. Shouldn't be many surprises here either. This guy's obviously one of the United States standout players. Hasn't been playing too much for Barcelona lately, unfortunately. But yeah, without a doubt is making this team. So far, 2 Canadians, 3 Americans. Who's finishing out on top? Let's move on to the center mids. We're going to start off by talking about one of Canada's standout players lately, Stefan Estakio. Obviously, the United States has a lot of great midfielders right now, but the way Estakio has been playing lately, without a doubt he deserves a spot in this team. As Filippo stated, this guy could easily get a transfer somewhere else to a bigger club, and I think he fully deserves it. For the national team, this guy got 3 goals in 4 matches in the Gold Cup last year. Obviously doing bits in the World Cup qualification. Definitely including him. Now, for the other center mid, we've gone for McKennie. Obviously, Juventus have been all over the place this year. Kind of regaining their form again recently, though. But I think this is one of the few players that have been very consistent for the team. Even when Juventus were looking at their lowest, this guy was still making a massive contribution. Yeah, I don't think I need to elaborate too much on this guy. Pretty self-explanatory for this decision. Now, for the center attacking mid, I have gone for Reina. He might not be playing in this match coming up, but still. Definitely a player worth putting in this squad. Definitely has a lot of potential for a very bright future. I mean, he's still 19 years old and he's absolutely balling for Borussia Dortmund. I usually go for the wingers first, but I'll just throw in the striker here because it might be a pretty obvious pick. Definitely a Canadian's going in this position. Jonathan David seems like the obvious pick, but Lehren has been terrific for Canada recently. It's actually based on preference, honestly, but I still think Jonathan David is the clear pick. The Besiktas striker definitely deserves an honorable mention though. What a player. Definitely a fantastic option, but yeah, we're gonna have to give it to David. In just 20 appearances in Ligue 1, he's gotten 12 goals. 3 goals in 6 appearances in the Champions League, and he's only 22 years old. Massive future ahead of him. Let's move on to the left winger. Another possible obvious choice here. I've gone for Christian Pulisic, or Pulisic. The debate on how you pronounce his last name can go forever. But yeah, the LeBron James of soccer. Not much else to say here. The right winger, though, is definitely questionable. We could either go for a USA pick, probably Timothy Weah, or Club Brugge's newly signed Canadian, Buchanan. You could argue many reasons for both. It's a really tough choice, split 50-50, but I'm gonna have to go with Weah. Don't know how comfortable I feel with that though. Buchanan's also a very solid choice. But yeah, that's my starting 11. Thank you all for making it to the end of this video. Let me know your predictions to this matchup down below. Also with your predictions on who you think will top the CONCACAF qualifiers. I'm pretty sure both of these teams will qualify for the World Cup. Hopefully I don't jinx that. But yeah, definitely looking forward to this international break coming up very soon. Again, go check out Tactical Manager TV if you haven't already. Link to his channel in the description. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care. La Noche.